Chapter 19 Seals. We are the Guardians, but also a group of poor people who are always against danger and madness. The hallway outside the window is closed, the stone walls are cold, and the lights inside are bright and yellow. The sound of Dunn Smith's words, lingering in this environment, strikes Klein's heart again and again, leaving him momentarily speechless. Seeing Klein's silence, Dunn shook his head and smiled. Is it disappointing? The extraordinary is not who you think it is. We walk with danger all the time. For every gain, there must be a cost. Klein, recovering from the shock of the moment, measured her response. He did not expect the extraordinary bright, extraordinary, different from the ordinary side. There are such hidden dangers. But perhaps because only heard the description, has not really encountered. Or perhaps because it has been involved in this vortex, maybe when there will be strange events to fall on him, his fear, perturb, worry and fear, and other emotions will soon be reduced to a controllable degree. Of course, the thought of retreating is inevitable, entangling, refusing to leave. Yes, very mature, very sensible. Dunn finished the rest of his coffee and added, and the extraordinary is not as powerful as you think. The low-order extraordinary. Oh, why use 1 for the highest order and 9 for the lowest? It's so counterintuitive and logical that when we talk about low sequence, we usually mean low order, high number, which is the beginning of the sequence chain. Well, where was I? Yes, the extraordinary is not as powerful as you think. The power of low sequence extraordinary is not as good as guns, let alone artillery. But in some ways, more wonderful than guns, more difficult to guard against. If you have the chance to become extraordinary in the future, you must think carefully about what I said today. Do not choose recklessly. Klein laughs at herself. I didn't know when I'll get the chance. If he had this opportunity, he felt that he would not miss it. Taking the wrong potion, the higher level of the potion, can be avoided to the greatest extent. The main hidden danger is the subtle influence of the potion itself, and the unknown danger heard and seen after the improvement of inspiration. The former has the experience reference of generations of ancestors, as long as it is not anxious to promote, steadily grasp the power. The probability of losing control should be relatively low, and it is mainly to solve the current potential danger. Understand the essence of the occult. Find a way to cross back and take this step, not aiming at the position of the high sequence. If it is easy to lose control, no promotion. Stay in the original sequence. Rely on knowledge to plan home things. Not to mention, Klein's memory of the transfer ritual that made her close to madness. The head is about to explode. This is not to become extraordinary to avoid. In this case, it is better to have some strength to fight. Thinking about this, Klein only realized that the pros and cons were so clear that the thought of holding back in the mind disappeared. Dunn picked up his pipe again and said with a slight smile in his gray eyes, "Forth this matter, I can't answer exactly. In order to become extraordinary, one is to get enough credit. Maybe tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, you can interpret the key ancient documents or provide very useful opinions to our cases. Second, see if there are any new ideas on it, which no one can tell. Now that you know the extraordinary better and won't make impulsive choices in the future, let me introduce you to the clerical work of our night watch squad." He stood up, paced to the door, and pointed in the opposite direction of the gate off chains. "We have an accountant, a person who buys the necessary goods, receives the supplies from the church and the police department, a part-time driver. They are all professionals, do not need to rotate, and have Sundays off every week. And the remaining 3 clerical staff, Roseanne, Bright, and Neil Sr. Their jobs are receiving visitors, cleaning rooms, writing case files and declaration lists, as well as guarding the repository of weapons, materials and documents, strictly checking in and out, and collecting and returning records. Each person taking 1 day off each week, except Sunday, in addition to the rotation of night watch and rest, all negotiated by themselves. Do I do the same thing as Roseanne and them? Klein stopped thinking about extraordinary people and identified her job responsibilities. No, you don't. You're a professional. Dunn smiled. You have two things going on right now. First, take a walk every morning or afternoon, focusing on the roads from Welch's place to your house. Hud Klein looked stunned. What kind of job is this? Is it very professional? Dunn slipped his hands into the pockets of his black trench coat. With the confirmation of your true memory loss, the Welch and Naya cases are closed, and the Antigonus diary is also completely missing. And we suspect that you took it with you and hid it on your way home, which is why we didn't find anything in your house. Which would explain why you weren't there. It's a possible reason for suicide at home. Although you are affected by the mystery, completely forgotten this memory. But the human spirit and brain are wonderful. There may be some traces left. Daily with psychic means cannot obtain. Does not mean that they absolutely do not exist, perhaps in familiar places, in key places. You will appear as if you have seen something, as if you have done something. That's what we're looking for. Got it? It dawned on Klein. The Night Watchmen did have a reasonable theory as to the whereabouts of the diary. Among the people present at that time, only they are still alive, and only they have the time and motivation to take away the diary and hide it Thalfway. If you can find the diary in this way, you should have enough credit to be extraordinary. Dunn Smith encouraged, indirectly revealing that the diary was of some importance. Hope Klein nodded. Dunn turns the conversation around again. Second, you'll take 1 day off a week. And when you're not out, you'll go to the armory and read the documents and classics we keep. That's the job of the history professionals. And when you're done, you'll rotate with old Neil and them. Yes, no problem. Klein breathed a quiet sigh of relief. It's not so difficult. Then Dunn turned half round and pointed to the black iron gate with the 7 sacred badges on it. This is the Gate of Janus, named after Archbishop Janus, the founder of the modern system of night watchmen. There is one under the central church in every large city. It is guarded by regular members of the night watchmen in rotation. And there are at least 2 watchmen from within the church, as well as countless traps. So you should never go near it casually, or you will be tainted by bad luck. That sounds impressive. Klein made a speech. It is divided into several sections, where a certain sequence of potions and various magical materials are kept, and heretics, cultists, and members of the hidden order are temporarily held, and, they are eventually sent to the Holy Church. Dunn said casually, the chapel, the Church of Tranquility, the headquarters of the Church of the Night Goddess in Wintershire, in the north of the kingdom. Klein nodded as if thinking. In addition, there are various copies of high-level documents and classics, which you may have the opportunity to read when you are promoted. Dunn paused for a moment and added, there are still some seals on the ground floor, behind the Gate of Chains. The seal. Klein chewed on the word. That sounds like a proper term. Some of the extraordinary objects we collect and acquire are so important, so magical, that if the evil one were to get hold of them, they would do so much damage that they must be kept secret, guarded, and used only by ourselves under certain circumstances. And, at this point, Dunn Smith paused before saying, and there are parts of it that are very special, that have a certain living quality in themselves, that tempt the keeper, that affect the surroundings, that escape on their own, that have catastrophic consequences, and that must be strictly controlled. It's amazing, Klein sighed. The Night Watchman headquarters divided these seals into 4 levels. 0 level means very dangerous, the highest importance, the highest level of secrecy, cannot be asked, cannot be passed on, cannot be described, cannot spy, can only be sealed under the church. Level 1 is highly dangerous and of limited use, done detailed. The level of confidentiality is the diocesan bishop and deacon of the night watch and above, and the central church of the diocesan headquarters, such as Bakeland, can keep 1 or 2, and the rest must be given to the Holy Church. The 2 level is dangerous, cautious, and controlled use. The secrecy level is the bishop and the night watch team leader and above. The central church in the major cities can keep 3 to 5 items, the other nearby to the church or diocesan headquarters. The 3 feet level is a certain danger, must be used carefully, must be applied by more than 3 people. The secrecy level to the full member of the night watch. When you look at the literature, you will know what it represents by the numbers, such as 2 to 125, which is the dangerous 125 seal. Dunn turned, walked back into his room, and pulled out a piece of paper from the bottom drawer. By the way, you take a look at this. 3 years ago, a new archbishop out of control, do not know how to break through the heavy protection. With a 0 level seal mysteriously disappeared. You recognize this photo. If there is a discovery, do not disturb, come back to report. Otherwise, you 1000% dead. What? Klein took the paper and found no letterhead, just a black and white photograph and a few lines off text. In Sezingwil. Male, 40 years old, former archbishop, failed promotion gatekeeper, seduced by the devil, degenerate into evil, absconded with the seal 008. The specific characteristics are above the photo. Ints. Zangwil wears a double-breasted, plain black clerical robe and a soft cap. His hair is dark gold. His pupils are blue to the point of deep black. His nose is straight. His lips are tight. His features are sculptural, unwrinkled, and the most striking sign is that he is blind in one eye. Detailed description of the fallen, only a code name for the seal. Klein was honest about her first feelings. So it is the highest level of security, and the search and communication of the 008 seal is all oral, not written, and only a little bit of it. The 008 looks like a common quill, but it doesn't need ink to write. That's all. Dunn size. Dunn did not say much about this, but followed the gold chain of the black trench coat and took out a gorgeous pocket watch of the same color, clicked it open, glanced at it, and pointed out the door. You go to old Neil at the armory and ask him to give you specific literature reading. He is not an ordinary civilian. He was once a full member, but he is old. He has not been promoted. He is not in good health. He is no longer fit to handle cases. And he is not willing to become an internal keeper or just recuperate at home. I just want to be with literature and classics.